Hello and welcome back to Mr. Naughton's guided lecture. We are still on Unit 3, Nutrition. We are going to move to food labeling. Now, when we're talking about food labeling, we're talking about food products. And there's a difference between whole foods, not the supermarket, but whole foods and food products. Food products are what's going to have labels on the side of their boxes or whatever that they come in. You'll never see Whole Foods with food labels. You'll never be able to go pick out an apple and get its nutritional value. But the reason why we need food labels is for these food products, which show us exactly what we're putting into our body, because most of the time they are things that are being put into these foods that are either additives or superlatives, which means that they are not very necessary, but they make either the food look better or taste better or preserve them for longer. So we need to know what products they are being put in, why they're being put in, and how they are reacting with our body, whether it's in a positive way or a negative way. So to first start off, when you are shopping, when you're going to be a healthy consumer, especially when you are doing your own grocery shopping, you need to look at for dates on the product. So there's several different types of dates on the product that are going to tell you when you should use them, when best you should use them, or if you shouldn't use them or buy them at all. So there are sell-by dates, and this tells you the last date the product can be sold in the store that you are in. You can still use this product after the sell-by date, but it means that the grocery store or whatever store is selling this has to sell this by a certain date, otherwise they have to take it off their shelves and get rid of it. Best if used by is going to tell you how long the product will be at its peak quality. Now, if you don't use the product after the best if used by date is already passed, it still can be in good quality, it's just not going to be at its peak quality. And then there's the do not use after, or the expiration date. This is the actual expiration date. This is the last day that you should consume the product. If you look into your refrigerator, or you look in your freezer, or you look in your shelves, if you have products that have passed their expiration date, you should get rid of them. You should not eat them. You should not keep them in storage any longer, because they could spoil, and if you do eat them after their expiration date, they could cause negative consequences to your health. So, whenever you buy a product, a food product, you should be looking at the side of the container, the box, the packaging, wherever it is, and reading the food label. The first thing you should be looking at, the first thing you should be looking at is the ingredients. But the next thing you should be looking at is from the top down. You need to be looking at the serving size. The serving size is going to show you the volume and the mass and the measurement that you're going to be using and looking at what you are consuming. Now, similar products are going to give you the same serving size measurement to compare similar products. So they want to be able to give you a side-by-side comparison when you are thinking about purchasing their product. They want to show you that 1 cup of cereal is going to be 1 cup of cereal in the box right next to you, so you don't get confused. The number of servings in the container also helps determine the serving size. And notice that there can be multiple servings in the container. So this is especially to be made aware of if you are going to consume the entire container, the entire package, or the entire box, to know exactly what you're eating, because then this is the number that's going to tell you how much you need to multiply everything else by to get the number of calories or total fat or total carbs and total proteins that you are going to be consuming for that meal. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the calories and the calories from fat. Now, the calories from fat are up there to help consumers like you meet their dietary guidelines. So, you need to remember that you should be getting no more than 30% of your daily calories from fat. So, when you look at the calories and then right next to it the calories from fat, if it is more than 30%, you probably should not be eating it. So to calculate the percentage of fat calories in a food, all you have to do is take the fat calories, which is located on the right, and divide it by the total calories, and that's going to give you the percentage. The next part of the food label are going to show you where all the nutrients that are important for good health, or all the nutrients that are there in the packaging. To the left, it's going to give you a breakdown. It's going to give you the fat breakdown, cholesterol, sodium, carbohydrates, and protein, usually in that order. There are some other products that are going to have more nutrients, and sometimes there's other going to be products that have less nutrients in them, but make sure that you're seeing the total nutrients that are in that particular container or packaging. And then to the right, they're going to give you the percentage of daily values. Now, what we're all measuring here is the percentage for a 2,000 calorie diet per day. The Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, has required nutritional labels to have this on there because they want to show that roughly everyone in America eats around about 2,000 calories per day. Now, for your age, for your height, for your weight, and whether you're male or female, it may be different. It may be less. It may be more. You'd have to go to your doctor and do some calculations, and your doctor would give you basically your total caloric diet. But based on these percentages and based on statistics, they just go by a 2,000 calorie diet, which is normal for the majority of people in the United States. So basically what that means is we'll use the amount of fat as an example that you are eating, 13 grams, in just 1 cup of this serving size. You are going to get about 20% of your recommended daily value. So if you had 2 cups, you would get roughly 40% of your recommended daily value with this container. So what you need to remember is, if I eat more than the serving size, how much more of the percentage and how much more nutrients am I getting? And you can even probably do it the reverse way. If I'm eating less than the serving size amount, how much less am I getting? Those are all things to keep in mind when you are consuming the product. Then there's going to be some vitamin and mineral daily values and percentages for this food provides at all. Hopefully this part, in the food that you're buying, the food products that you are purchasing, hopefully this part has a ton of vitamins and a ton of minerals on there that are going to be beneficial to you and your health. If you are buying food products that don't have these or are very lacking in these, chances are they're not very good for you. Then at the bottom, there's going to be a recommended daily value of some major nutrients that people tend to have too much or too little of. So they're trying to basically help you out and say, hey, you probably shouldn't get too much saturated fat in your diet or cholesterol or sodium in your diet. So try to make sure that you look at these food products and make sure that you are taking it easy in these categories. And then it'll say, hey, you know what? A lot of people don't get as much carbohydrates or fiber in their diet. So you should look at that and then see if you are reaching your daily recommended amount. And then it's always going to be a reminder on the bottom. Is going to give you the calories per gram, about fat calories, carbohydrate calories, and protein calories. The only thing that's missing from this label that we're showing you is the list of ingredients that should be right below the calories per gram section. So right where this yellow box is that says list of ingredients, it should have the actual list of ingredients. And it's usually placed at the bottom of the label because they don't want people looking it being the first thing that people look at. And it's always listed in order of weight, from what's the most amount in there to the least amount in there. And there's always a good general rule that if there's some type of simple sugar, some type of fructose, glucose, high fructose corn syrup in the first 3 ingredients, then it's probably considered a dessert or a treat, and you should probably tend to stay away from it or eat it very sparingly, which is a little bit here and a little bit there. So to summarize, you're always going to start, hopefully, by reading the ingredients. And if you read something that you don't know about, hopefully you're researching it. But remember, if it's something that you can't pronounce or it's something that you don't know what it's doing in there, it's probably an additive that they put in there to either make the product look better, make the product last longer, or it's adding some type of negative value to your diet. We want you to observe the serving size and the calorie info to see how many calories you are consuming, and if you eat less or more than the serving size, to be able to do that math to see how much you're actually consuming. All of the labels that are listed in yellow, you want to try to limit. Now, we know that you want some fat in your diet, 30%, but you want to limit trans fat and saturated fat. You want to make sure that you get a good balance between unsaturated and saturated fat, that 20-10, 20 to 10 ratio. Okay? Cholesterol, you want to limit that as much as possible, and sodium, a lot of products, especially food products, have too much sodium in them, and we know that sodium can lead to high blood pressure. All of the labels in the blue, you want to try to get enough of when you are consuming these products, so make sure you're getting enough fiber and your vitamins and minerals. Okay. Also make sure that you are reading to see how many carbs are in that, as well as how many proteins are in it as well. Okay. So remember, there's a quick guide to your percentage of daily value. It's the 5-20 rule. If there's 5% or less in a product, it's a low value, and that can be good if it's sodium or cholesterol, or that could be bad if it's, let's say, fiber. Okay, you should be eating something with fiber in it. And then if it's 20% or more, it's on the high end, which could be good. Let's say if you're eating something like fiber or calcium, and it could be bad if it's, let's say, trans fat or saturated fat or cholesterol, because that means in just one serving of this product that you're consuming, you are getting more than 20% of your recommended value. And we all know it's probably not the only thing that you're going to be consuming for the entire day. So this is just a breakdown of comparing butter, margarine stick, and margarine tub. We want you to compare and keep an eye on the saturated fat, the trans fat, and the cholesterol. So the butter, all the way to the left with this red arrow, 7 grams of saturated fat, 0 trans, and 10% of our cholesterol. The margarine stick, 2% saturated fat, 3 grams or 2 grams of saturated fat, 3 grams of trans fat, 0% cholesterol. And then the margarine tub, 1 gram saturated fat, 0.5 grams of trans fat, 0% cholesterol. Okay, so basically what we're looking at is a combined amount of 7 grams of fat with butter, 5 grams of fat with the margarine stick, and 1.5 grams of fat with the margarine tub. So obviously the best choice to spread on, let's say, some bread or to use for some cooking would be the margarine tub. And here are also some things that you need to be aware of. When food products say that they are free, let's say fat-free or sugar-free, what it really means is that it contains less than 1/2 of a gram of that particular product. It doesn't have to be 0, it just has to be 0.5 grams or less. So even foods that have 0.5 grams of fat in it are allowed to call themselves fat-free, and 0.5 grams of sugar are allowed to call themselves sugar-free. So when we're talking about low-in, when products say that they're low in calories or they're low in sodium, for instance, low in calories has to contain at least 40 calories or less per serving, as well as low in sodium has to contain less than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. When a product says that it's high in something, like high in vitamin C, it means that one serving needs to provide 20% or more of that daily recommended value. If something is considered light, like light mayonnaise or something else that would be considered light, it needs to contain 50% less fat or at least 1/3 fewer calories than the product that it is saying it is light. Excellent source of, another thing that needs to say excellent source of, let's say calcium. That means one serving needs to provide 20% or more of the daily value of calcium, kind of very similar to the high in category. And when something says it may reduce your risk of heart disease, this usually can appear on fiber containing grain products, fruits, and vegetables that are also low in saturated fat and cholesterol. And what you should always remember is just because you're eating these foods doesn't mean you are eliminating your chance of heart disease. It just means it can help along with a balanced diet and exercise and a lot of other healthy choices that you're making. It could reduce your risk of getting heart disease. That's all we have for you today about food labeling and reading food labeling. So hopefully next time you're at the grocery store, you grab those food products, you can actually read them, understand them, and know what they are, so you're making healthy, wise decisions when you or your family are shopping. Until next time, this is Mr. Naughton. Thanks for listening.